Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Shalom. I'm David Mencer, Israeli government spokesman. It's Wednesday, the 19th of June, day 257 of the October 7th war. Slightly shorter briefing today to take your questions. Israel insists that the war in Gaza will not end until its goals are met. We want to bring back 120 of our hostages, dismantling of Hamas's governmental and military capabilities, and of course removing the terrorist threat. Today is also International Day for the elimination of sexual violence in conflict. I would point you to the Screams Before Silence movie that you can see on YouTube. It was shown at the White House on Monday. On this day, it's even more important to remind the world of the horrific sexual crimes committed by Hamas terrorists on October the 7th. These are war crimes and crimes against humanity which stand in complete opposition to human morality. Hamas continues to commit such crimes by holding our 120 hostages in captivity, including women, the elderly, and children. Now the latest from COGAT and their work coordinating aid into Gaza. 35,851 humanitarian aid trucks have been sent into Gaza since the start of this war. If those trucks were parked bumper to bumper, that would be 820 kilometers of aid. That would reach from Paris to Milan as the crow flies, or as an aeroplane would fly. So just yesterday, 305 humanitarian aid trucks were inspected and transferred into Gaza, 289 trucks via the Kerem Shalom crossing and 16 trucks via the Erez crossing. 100 aid trucks were collected yesterday from the Gazan side of Kerem Shalom by UN aid agencies and the private sector. That means that the content of over 1,000 trucks, that's 1,000 aid trucks, are still waiting on the Gazan side of Kerem Shalom to be picked up by UN aid agencies. COGAT confirms that we've taken many steps to assist UN aid agencies with the collection of aid from the Gazan side of Kerem Shalom, including a tactical pause on the Folat route. So that's the end of our briefing today. I'm now going to happily take your questions, which you should put in the chat, together with your news outlet. First question, please.
David Climate, the News Forum. Can the Prime Minister comment on the video released that is allegedly Hezbollah drone footage of key Israeli military sites?
Thank you for that question, David, about that Hezbollah propaganda film. Yes, it is a Hezbollah propaganda film with all the aspects of Hezbollah propaganda that we have become used to by now. Look, this is a deadly terrorist organization, the Iranian-backed terror organization that seeks to instill terror on our people. They have already rained down more than 5,000 rockets, projectiles, UAVs, deadly suicide drones, mortars on our northern border and on northern Israel. They've displaced many people, more than 60,000 from Israel's north. But we've made absolutely clear that one way or another, diplomatically or through military means, our northern border, the north of our country, Israeli sovereign territory, will be made safe for Israel's population, Israel's people, to return there. This is, of course, an Iranian-backed terror organization. Hezbollah's usual mischief-making propaganda films. No one should be surprised at that point. But we know what Hezbollah are about, and we know what their capabilities are, and we know precisely how to deal with them. One way or the other, diplomatically or through military means, this threat will be dealt with, and this country will be defended. Next question, please.
Joel Pollock, Barbet News 1. Could you tell us what promoted Prime Minister Netanyahu to post a video in which he said the U.S. should stop withholding weapons and ammunition from Israel? The White House said it did not know what he was talking about. Now, there are reports about delayed F-15 sales. Can you please explain?
Thank you for that question, Joel. As you saw in, excuse me, as you saw in yesterday's video from the Prime Minister, as leader of this country, a country at war, a country facing Iran's evil terror axis on 7 different fronts, a country fighting for its very survival, the Prime Minister felt the need to express his thoughts. He thanked the US for its support in the past and looked forward to, indeed all of us look forward to, receiving its support in the future. But ultimately, the Prime Minister is known as one of the most eloquent leaders in the world, and so I'll let the Prime Minister's words speak for themselves. And just to let you know, this is just out actually, the Prime Minister has just tweeted that the US ambassador to Israel, Jack Lew, told him that the ammunition and weapons that the Prime Minister referred to are in the process of being delivered to Israel. So the Prime Minister thanked him for that news and said that he expects this to happen, and he's instructed Israeli teams to work with our American counterparts so that it will happen. Next question, please. From Joel Pollack, second part of that question.
2. There are reports that the White House canceled a meeting with Israeli officials in response to the Prime Minister's video. Is there a new rift in the relations with Biden administration?
Thank you for that second question, Joel. As you know, the Israel and the United States of America have been side by side through decades and decades. It's a extremely close relationship. It's a close partnership. There will be times in that partnership when issues come up which tests that relationship, and it's normal for there to be disagreements, of course, in all partnerships. But the Prime Minister's comments speak for themselves. He's made his comments clear, and I'll leave it at that. We do, of course, agree that the US is our closest partner. We're facing the same enemies. Iran, of course, they're our enemy here in Israel, but they're your enemy in the States as well. And I think that's not lost on the majority of the American people, nor on the majority of Israelis as well. Next question, please.
Judy Cohen, WION, India. Has the Prime Minister discussed the U.S. sending its aircraft carrier back to the region in order to deter Hezbollah from a wider war, as was done towards the start of the war with the Hamas? Is this in any way related to Netanyahu's assertion that the U.S. is withholding arms assistance to Israel?
Thank you for that question, Jody. As I mentioned to you before, the US and Israel stand side by side against so many enemies and have done for decades and decades now. All of our discussions remain on the diplomatic level, should remain in private, and that's what is the most important thing right now. The Prime Minister made his comments absolutely clear in the video which he released yesterday. He made his concerns clear. And I think that's the best place for you to get any further comment on this particular issue. Next question.
David Isaac, JNF. Did Prime Minister Netanyahu know of the F-50 holdup when he made his video statement about the U.S. withholding arms yesterday?
Thank you for that question, David. I think you're probably referring to F-15s rather than F-50. I don't think that F-50s exist, to my knowledge. But I think the Prime Minister spoke very eloquently in his video. He expressed his point of view. We've shared that with you now. We've also shared with you the tweet which we just put out just before we came on air from the Prime Minister regarding Ambassador Liu's comments. And I think that's the best things which I can say at the moment on these points. Next question.
Lior Soroka. President Herzog told the U.S. lawmakers today in reference to Israel and the United States, we must stay together, and if we have anything to discuss, it should be discussed quietly. Was this a rebuke of the Prime Minister's statement yesterday accusing the Biden administration of withholding weapons and ammunition to Israel?
Thank you very much for that question, Lior. I don't think that's the inference that you should take from those comments. The Prime Minister has been very eloquent on the threats we are facing here in Israel. We're facing a fight for our very survival. No one should be in any doubt of that fact. We know that the forces of evil, the vultures, are circling this region, not only here in Israel, but in other moderate Arab countries also facing an Islamic fundamentalist threat. They're all watching to see who comes out on top of this battle between good and evil, between democracies and terrorist Islamo-fascist terror organizations, armies backed by Iran. They all want, they tell us privately, of course, they want us to succeed. And we are succeeding. We are winning this war. We are uprooting Hamas from Gaza. Our military successes are coming every single day, despite the heavy price which it has taken on our soldiers. So it's very important to reiterate that the relationship between Israel and the US is an extremely crucial relationship. We face the same enemies, this Iranian-backed terror. The Prime Minister's made his comments absolutely clear yesterday, and they were additional comments made today in his tweet regarding the reassurance which he received from Ambassador Liu. Next question, please.
Hannah Julian, the Jewish Press. Good afternoon. It has been reported that Israeli officials were already on their way to Washington when the White House canceled the scheduled meeting on Iran. Are those officials planning to stay in the U.S. in hopes of rebooting that meeting, or are they turning around and returning to Israel?
Thank you for that question, Hannah. I've got nothing more to add. We've got ongoing discussions at every single level with US officials. Those are very important to us, and I think I'll leave it at that. Next question.
Jim Williams, Zenger International News Service, Washington, D.C. Yesterday, the Prime Minister stated that the U.S. is obstructing arms supplies to Israel, preventing the IDF from completing its mission in Gaza. Conversely, Secretary Blinken clarified in the press briefing that the U.S. has only withheld a single weapons request, the 2,000-pound bombs shipment, and emphasized that shipment has continued uninterrupted since they began in October of last year. Subsequently, a Pentagon spokesperson supported Blinken's assertion, confirming that arms are still being regularly sent to Israel. The spokesperson also noted, "We are supplying weapons to both Israel and Ukraine as quickly as possible."
Okay, I think I've got the gist of the question. Thank you very much for that, Jim. So to repeat what I said earlier, as you saw from yesterday's video, the Prime Minister, as leader of this country, a country at war, a country facing Iran's evil terror axis, terror on 7 different fronts, a country which is fighting for its very survival, the Prime Minister felt the need to express his thoughts. He thanked the US for its support in the past and look forward to, indeed, all of us look forward to receiving that support in the future. But ultimately, the Prime Minister, as I've said to you, Jim, already, is known as one of the most eloquent leaders in the world. I will let the Prime Minister speak for himself. But also just to point you to the tweet which the Prime Minister just put out, that the US Ambassador to Israel, Jack Lew, has told him that the ammunition and weapons that the Prime Minister was referring to are in the process of being delivered to Israel. The Prime Minister thanked him for that news and said he expects this to happen, and has instructed Israeli teams to work with their American counterparts so that it will happen. I think that answers that question. Next question, please.
Frederick Edgar from Interplanetary Television. Medical professionals have been protesting against police brutality outside Sheba Medical Center in Tel HaShomer after Dr. Tal Westbach was injured by a police water cannon during an anti-government protest. What is the Prime Minister's office comment regarding police brutality against protesters, even more so towards first responders and medical professionals?
Thank you for that question, Fred. Of course, protest is a crucial part of every democracy. Israel is no different. It's a vibrant democracy. Some would say a very vibrant democracy here in Israel. Everyone has the opportunity to express their feelings and their emotions and their thoughts at this time. We're going through a difficult period in our history. We're facing the longest war since the establishment of this country in 1948. Of course, this country is 76 years old, but obviously has a 3,000-year history. We have a long history in this country of open discussion amongst ourselves. We love to argue in this country, and that protest, of course, should be always defended. The police do, and they must continue to act within the law to protect public safety. That's also a crucial element of every democracy. And we are confident that Israel's police are doing that and will continue to do that. Anyone which has been injured in these protests, that is extremely unfortunate. All of us here in Israel, through this very, very difficult time when emotions are running so high, not only because of the terror threat that we face, because of the length of this war to destroy this country, but we will win this war. We will bring this war to an end. We insist that the war won't end until all of its goals are met. That's the return of our hostages, the dismantling of Hamas's governmental and military capabilities, and of course, the removing of that terrorist threat. That's the precise framework proposed by Israel during these negotiations, and we maintain that these principles, while establishing conditions for transition between the stages, are upheld. Thank you. Any other questions? No, that was the last question. Okay, so that's the end of our briefing. You can join us tomorrow for another briefing at the same time. Thank you for joining us. Please do stay safe, and thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching. Drop a comment below. Don't forget to like, share, and hit subscribe to stay updated with our latest content. Until next time, stay informed and inspired. This is Dejobnik signing off.